Folks, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody is doing great out there. Thank you for tuning in today. So today we have an excellent video for you on a budget Glock build. And no, this is not some green screen thingy behind me. That is the real ocean. So hope you enjoy the view while I'm talking. But with this, it was a project that I expected to go very smoothly and just to be kind of boom, 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 and it would be over and done with, and well, it was not. And so I decided to go ahead and put all the footage together, editing out any unnecessary bits or anything, just so people could kind of see as you go through the process. It might not always be so easy and straightforward for you. And you know, also too, there is that whole deal with YouTube rules on certain stuff of what you can show or can't show. And because of that, you know, pretty much I have to kind of tread that line very carefully and not include anything that might potentially be some sort of issue. So have to take that into consideration. But anyways, folks, at the end, I will go ahead and wrap everything up for you. So that way you can kind of see what lessons I learned from the process, and hopefully that can help you guys out there if you're considering doing the same thing also. So enjoy, folks, and we'll see you at the end. With this, we're going to be doing a kind of a budget build, but yet I tried to aim for quality as well and try to kind of find a good mix in that. Because you can go definitely bottom of the barrel you know, and just get the cheapest crap you can get your hands on. But I tried to kind of walk the line, and I'll talk about how I did that. So the one thing with this, and I'll go through all the prices and stuff I paid for stuff, and I'm always looking for a deal pretty much. So going through all this, y'all know what this is right here. So we won't get into that. I'll just tell you this though, that whenever the previous drama erupted, over these, I went ahead and jumped on it and got a bunch for 50% off. So I don't know what the current deals are on them out there right now, but you know, definitely kind of decide which one of these that you want, and then basically wait for sales to come up and jump on them. And a lot of times you can save some big money whenever they're trying to clear stock out. But yeah, I saved exactly 50% on this and some others. So, you know, that's one thing that we have here. The other thing that I went with on this was we ended up with kind of a goofy color scheme. Not really intentional. It's just whatever was on sale. But the slide here, this is a Swenson slide that I got from Midway. I think the list price originally was $239 on it. They marked it down, or had the regular retail price at, I think, something like $149 or $160. And then they had basically a discontinued closeout sale where they marked these all the way down to $79.99, which is how I got this one. So one thing with this is that it had a optics cut slide. For either a Burris fast fire or one of these Venom red dots. I've never gone with a red dot on a pistol before, so I thought I would try that out and see how that goes. And because, hey, let's face it, in the next 10 years, it's all going to be basically these red dot sights. They're taking over. Iron sights, yeah, they'll probably still be around to some extent, and especially on a lot of the older stuff, but we kind of know where the direction technology's taken us. So decided, hey, this would be a good chance to maybe test that out and kind of have it as a test bed to teach myself. So, you know, the fact that it was optics cut already, decided to go ahead and go with that. Also too, I'm not a big fan of these open slides. To me, it's just a way for extra dirt and other crap to get into. The general look of the slide is not really kind of what I would say is my thing, but you know, it seems to be a pretty solid, you know, well put together slide, and the quality seems to be there. I noticed in reviews and stuff, it seemed to get pretty decent reviews overall, especially considering some of the competitors. So for the price and the quality, I thought for 80 bucks, I thought this was nice enough and should get the job done. Now the other thing too was, because I got a Swenson slide, one of the things I decided that would probably be a good idea is to go ahead and get a Swenson barrel. Now my understanding is that Swenson is basically Midway's house brand, so to speak. So off and on last year, they had barrels on sale. Sometimes they'd go for a while without them being on sale. And then they'd have these sales periodically, I don't know, every month or 2 or 3. And so I've been kind of watching that and just kind of waiting to jump on it when the price was right. And finally, a sale came up where they marked this down. I think the regular list, like the week before when I saw it, was $79.99, and they marked it down to basically it was right at 40 bucks. So went ahead and jumped on that and got that. It looks like a pretty decent quality slide so far. So the other thing too was I went ahead and went with the threaded barrel as well, because I figured, well, if I get a suppressor at some point, maybe I can go ahead, it'll be ready for a suppressor if I do want to put a suppressor on it. So decided to go ahead and go with that one. So for 40 bucks, I think quality on that, pretty good. So pretty much, again, 50% off. The parts. Now, this was the one thing. I read a lot of reviews on parts and stuff. And, with some of the stuff that was not Glock, you'd have people talk about different fit issues and all that sort of thing. Now, the one thing that happened last year with Midway was, with all the different sales that they were running, is if you were sitting there at the right time kind of watching stuff, the one thing was with the Glock parts kits, let's see, the upper kit, I think this was retailing at $120, and if I recall, they marked it down to either 60 or 80 for like maybe about a week or so, and so I went ahead and jumped on it and went ahead and grabbed it. So got all of our parts here. These are all Glock factory parts. So none of them are off-brand or anything like that. Midway actually puts these kits together. My preference was, if the price was not too unreasonable, that I would just go ahead and go with the Glock parts and put the Glock parts in, and we kind of know the quality on that. Should be pretty damn good. Okay, so we got our upper parts here. Basically, it was, like I said, about at least $40 off. So not close to 50%, but still a good amount off. And then we had our lower parts kit that Midway also put together. These are Glock factory parts as well. These typically, if you go on their website, they retail this kit for $80. They had a special sale. Again, I got this half off for $39.99 or something. So again, another 50% off that I grabbed. Then the other thing too, I'm going to do a separate review on this. This is my first red dot for a pistol. So this Vortex Venom. Let's see, can't remember where they make this at, but I made in the Philippines. So I'd heard a lot of people talk about this in terms of for the price, the quality was pretty good, and for someone who's just looking for kind of a casual red dot sight that they're using on the range, whatever, these seem to work pretty well. I didn't hear much in the way of anything bad about them. So I thought, well, okay, let's go ahead and give this a shot. Now, the one thing with this was they had a bunch of sales over Christmas time, and typically these retail for around $249.99. They had a special sale for Black Friday. They had marked them down to $150. So I thought, hey, for $150 to grab one of these, I think it's a pretty good deal. Like I said, I'll go ahead and I'll do a separate review on it all by its lonesome for people that might be interested in it. And I think a lot of people will be, because this is kind of a good budget option where it doesn't break the bank, and you can still have a decent quality sight on your pistol. So Definitely kind of be interested to see how this performs. So that should be a lot of fun. So that's all of our parts. Now, basically what I'm going to have to do is get all this together. And we'll have a bit of fun shooting it and see how it all works out. Whether I did a good job of picking all this stuff out and did a good job assembling it, or we had a big fail. So we'll see. On to the next part of the video. All right, folks, so we have gone ahead and safety checked our firearm, and there's no magazine, and we also have a clear chamber with hammer down. So let's talk about some of the stuff that has transpired over the past 8 months with this. And then what I'm going to do is once I get started rolling here talking, I'll go ahead and overlay some footage of different stoppages that I've had with this firearm since we got it built. And you can kind of see what's been going on with it. Quite a lot, and then I'll also tell you about some of the different things that I went through to try to put this right. So hopefully, y'all can use this as a learning experience or pick up something from it. And, we talked previously in the video about what different parts we used and all that sort of stuff. So I won't get into that again. But pretty much here, we, right from the get-go, I would say the one issue that we initially ran into was anytime that you would try to get a round into the chamber, a lot of times it was running up against the feed ramp. So that was the first thing, is just actually getting rounds into the chamber. And so I went through numerous fixes with that, and also too tried a different barrel as well. This is from Classic Firearms. They had these barrels on sale, and I said, well, I'll just go ahead and get another barrel, put that in. Pretty much had identical issues. It didn't really solve that problem. And we just kept running into those problems of actually feeding a round into the chamber. A lot of times, once you got the first round going, sometimes you could go for several rounds where the gun would actually shoot for a bit, and then it would just go ahead and choke again. You'd stovepipe, whatever. I'll get to that in just a sec. So we had a lot of issues just actually feeding the rounds into the chamber. The other thing to be aware of with this is that with our lower, we went through all of the various fixes and tuning and tweaks and stuff. So I'm pretty convinced, and I'll show in a minute the reason why I don't think it's anything at all to do with the lower. And keep in mind, we have factory Glock parts in here as well. All the individual little pieces, springs and firing pins and all that stuff, it's all factory Glock. So that was the first problem, was actually feeding rounds into the chamber. Then the second thing that we kept running into was actually on ejecting and extraction. Many issues with stovepiping, and then also too whenever rounds were ejecting from the gun. The one thing I noticed was that the pattern was not consistent most of the time. So if you were behind the gun, and you might see some of the footage here with that, we had casings flying out to the left, we had casings flying back and hitting me in the head, we had casings flying out to the right at all sorts of random angles. And the ejection of the spent case was extremely random all over the place. No rhyme or reason. And really with any firearm out there, most of the time, I'm sure someone can throw some different examples or cite some different things out there in regards to this. But most of the time, firearms should be pretty consistent about where they kick the spent cases to, whether it's forwards or backwards or whatever. Whichever side should be relatively consistent. Definitely not here. We didn't have any sort of consistency. The other thing too, a lot of times apparently the extractor here, or I think it was the ejector. I think there's a slightly different part which doesn't work. I double checked to make sure that I had the right Glock part for that, and we should be good to go. So everything should be fine. So that really isn't the case, I don't think. So it was kind of a multitude of problems, you know, not only feeding rounds into the chamber, but then also extracting as well, or ejecting from the firearm the spent cases. And also too, the problems seem to be relatively random. At times we could run a number of rounds through the firearm and everything would be okay. And then other times we would start hitting, all the different various jams and stuff like that. Then the next thing that I tried after this was I thought, well, let's eliminate a variable here and try to look at something else. So let's go ahead, and what I did was I bought a Dagger Lower. These are available quite reasonably priced. And so I got one of these Dagger Lowers and went ahead and put that on and ended up having pretty much, now the funny thing was, when I first put this on, I think the first magazine ran great. Didn't have any problems at all, and then the trouble started. And pretty much had identical problems with this, just as I did with this. So, probably a lot of people would think initially that the lower would be the problem. And I don't believe it is, because we ended up having identical issues when I put this lower on it. So, it doesn't appear to be the lower or the barrel. The only thing that I think this comes down to, which we're going to have to think about what we're going to do next with this, is the slide. And that is the only problem. So this slide was bought on sale. It was a discontinued slide. And I think the Swenson slides now, they are upgraded. But after throwing all these extra parts on it, and doing tons of testing and tons of shooting, it just seems like everything kind of maybe goes back to the slide itself. Something here is out of whack, or the dimensions are off or something, because I don't really know what else it would be. We have tried different barrels and that hasn't really solved it. We have tried different lowers and that hasn't solved it. We have factory Glock parts in there, so I don't see necessarily where that would be a problem. So about the only thing I think left that to kind of look at is the slide. And the other thing also too is I have mixed and matched, pretty much everything. I have tried this lower with both of the barrels. I have tried this lower with both of the barrels, all that. And the only constant through all these problems seems to be this slide. So not necessarily knocking on this slide at all. It may end up not being the problem that we have, but it seems pretty suspicious at this point. This is where the problem must be originating from, because everything else doesn't seem to change what's kind of going on. The other thing that I tried also is I tried different magazines as well. So I got one or two of these Magpul magazines. I bought some brand new Glock magazines and tried that, and even had some used Glock 19 magazines that someone donated to me that have been used for a number of years. And the magazines, which sometimes can be a point of failure, that didn't seem to be the problem either. So really, about at this point, the only thing that we can kind of track it down to is this slide. And so that seems to be the main issue that's kind of holding us up with this. And so I have to kind of figure out what to do next, because obviously buying another slide, that's another financial investment to make, and there's many other projects that we want to do. Now, one thing I will say with all of this is, as we have shot it over time, the problems have diminished some. So it could be an issue where we have, broken it in a little bit and got everything to kind of mesh up. So maybe I should continue to shoot it for a while and see if things improve. They do seem to be improving somewhat. There seems to be some progress being made, but it's nowhere near 100% reliable. I certainly would not count on this in a pinch or carry it. So we started out with this with pretty much a aim to make a $320 budget pistol, and pretty much we failed miserably. However, at the end of the day, there's been some positives that have come out of it. All right, so for one final time, let's actually take this up to the range. We will run a couple of magazines through it and see how things turn out and see where we officially are with this, and then we will wrap it up and talk about what will come next, including we do have this nice dagger lower. These are very popular right now, so probably since we're already kind of partway there with it, we should probably look at doing something with this and making something happen with this. So we'll talk about that at the very end. But let's go to the range and let's go ahead and shoot this. And you know what? And while we're at it, I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead and strip this lower off. I'll put this lower on, and also too, perhaps we might even change out the barrels just so y'all can kind of see the difference. All right, folks. So here we are at the range today, and a little bit of an overcast day, and a bit humid and dying gasp of summer, and so actually a little bit of rain coming down right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we'll take the original setup here. We'll go ahead and I'm getting attacked by bugs here. They're driving me crazy. We'll go ahead and shoot one magazine through it. We'll see what happens. And then after that, what we'll do is maybe we'll go ahead and crack it open. We can maybe try the other barrel there, and then maybe we'll throw on the lower at the end and kind of see what we come up with. And then we will go ahead and wrap this project up for now, and let's see what results we get. Already got a round stuck there against the feed ramp. Let's see if we can smack it in the battery. All right, so we got it in the battery there. Reinsert our magazine. Let's see what we got. Okay, so now we have our classic firearms barrel that we've put in. A magazine. Go ahead and load it. Okay. So we managed to rack around into the chamber, no problem. So that's good. Okay, so that was great. That actually ran clean, no problems at all with that classic firearms barrel. So that's a good sign. Happy with that. Okay, folks, so now we have our PSA Dagger Lower with the Swenson upper slide, and then the classic firearms barrel. So quite a combination that we have there. Okay, everything racked into the chamber good. Let's shoot. Up. Little jam up there. Smack it in the battery. Up. Another jam up. Smack it in the battery. All right, folks, let's go ahead and wrap up this project. It has been one heck of a ride. You guys haven't seen a lot of the stuff that's gone on in the background with this one, but it is kind of funny because I did expect, that this would be something that would have been wrapped up back in February, and here we are, we're pushing into September, and I'm still goofing around with it. But whenever we did our testing this afternoon, the P80 lower here with the slide and the Swenson barrel, the first go we had whenever we went to rack around in the chamber, we had a failure with that, so we ended up smacking it into battery, which it went into battery, and we went through a whole magazine with no problems. Then the second go, we went ahead and replaced the Swenson barrel with the classic firearms barrel, which is currently installed in here. And we had 100% reliability. Whenever we went to rack around in the chamber, everything worked. Went through a whole magazine, no problems whatsoever. And so that's good. Very happy with that. That may be a setup that I'll probably look at running into the future with that, perhaps. As we continue to shoot this and try to wear it in. Then the last go we went ahead and put the Dagger Lower on with the classic firearms barrel and the Swenson slide. We had probably the most failures with that. As I remember, I think a round went into the chamber, no problem. But then we had numerous failures as we went through shooting it, and so that wasn't good. That Dagger Lower doesn't appear to like this whole setup up here, so no worries with that. We'll take the Dagger Lower, do something else with it. So where do we go from here? What lessons have we learned? Well, this has actually been a good process to go through because I have learned a Glock inside and out, and that's why I encourage a lot of y'all to perhaps build one of these yourself. Acquire whatever parts you want to acquire and try to make it work. You will learn quite a lot out of the process of doing that. And so it's been very useful for me to learn how a pistol goes together, and all the different parts on the Glock now, I know what they all are and where they all go. And so that's a good thing. Learning all of that and just learning the whole process and going through a lot of the troubleshooting and everything. So that's been good. The other surprise with this is that we haven't even gone to the trouble of putting iron sights on yet because we wanted to get some degree of reliability. But we had this Vortex Venom that we went ahead and installed on the slide here. And I have to say, been very happy with this so far. This is the first red dot I've ever had on a pistol. So in the future, I think we are going to be shifting more in that direction with some of my modern pistols and deep diving into this a bit more. I would like to do a full review on this as well. And so I have been using this now for a while and been very happy with it. So, I think I'm going to go ahead and do a comprehensive review on that and get that out the door at some point. And also we'll be exploring other options as well, like Trigicon, Holosun, and some other brands out there. And I'm pretty much a convert on red dots on pistols at this point. So definitely on the channel, we'll be doing a bit more of that into the future. Also with this Dagger Lower, I think the setup that I'm going to continue to run for now with this P80 lower is I will continue to run this slide right here with the classic firearms barrel. We're going to try to wear this in a bit more, wear the slide in and all the parts, and see if we can get to a point where it's pretty much reliable like any regular Glock, and see how that works out. If I reach a point where I'm just not convinced this slide is going to make it, at some point I'll start looking for another slide and take all the parts off of this and just turn this into basically a piece, basically a paperweight for the table. But we'll see how it goes, and who knows, maybe that would even get worse results. We don't know. We really don't. I suspect it's more of a slide issue because we have swapped out different lowers and we've run into the same issues. We've tried different magazines. We've tried all this different stuff. And the slide is the only thing that we've never really changed. So I suspect that may be where our problem lies. So we'll look at that in the future in terms of swapping that out. In terms of our Dagger Lower, I know these are super popular right now. And so I think I will look into getting a Dagger Upper. and going ahead and doing a full review on this at some point. So that's part of the plan too. Anyways, folks, it was not the video I expected to make, for sure. But I have to say this. A lot of times in life, having things work out or having things fail, or different things that are failures, are actually good, because you end up learning much more out of the whole thing. So for me, I don't see it as a bad thing, because I ended up learning a hell of a lot out of the whole process. And so hopefully, from what I've gone through, maybe there's some lessons in there for you all too, if you're looking at doing your own budget Glock clone build. You know, thinking about some of this stuff, maybe there's things that I would not do again. You know, don't know. But yeah, there's certainly some food for thought there. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed the video. It's kind of a long video, I know, but hopefully y'all got a lot out of it, and we'll see y'all next time with what's coming up.